Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome back to Career Insights 501. I'm your host, Dr. Loso, and today we have a special guest with us, Ira Hampton, and he's going to be talking to us about a career being a quality engineer. So, Ira, welcome to the
Hey,
show.
I appreciate you for inviting me on. I know it's been a while since we have caught up, so this should be pretty fun.
Yeah. It's been a long while. I don't think we talked really since we graduated.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So, yeah, this will be interesting.
Oh, for sure.
So, So why don't you tell the people a little bit about yourself before we get into what you do exactly?
Okay. Yeah. So I am a what you call a senior quality engineer. What I do is I work in medical devices. So I am who you call in to make sure that the quality is appropriate, the quality is acceptable for all your medical devices. I also handle complaints, regulatory affairs, and also uh, any of the improvements that come with a medical device as well. And so a medical device could be anything that you use in a setting where someone is needing medical attention. So
Gotcha. So how did your undergraduate degree play into that, or your educational
so
background play into that?
that's actually I had a conversation with my wife about this just yesterday because she was saying she has a well, in which in some form or fashion she is correct that what I went to college for doesn't seem to align with what I do right now,
hmm
which some of what my college degree is it aligns with medical device field, being a quality engineer and so forth. So I went to college for biomedical engineering. With that, underneath my undergrad, I did a lot of design of medical devices. Took a lot of biocompatible medical materials classes, fluid dynamics, and so forth. So a lot of that feeds back into my career path actually right now because I do a lot of investigations for medical devices. So I do this with complaints as well. I do a lot of those investigations alongside manufacturing engineers as well, so that we can get to a root cause. So that part helps me a lot because I did a lot of that based off my degree, and that's just having the
hmm
understanding of what you are looking at and then how to get to a root cause to make it better. Now, there are certain parts of my job that I believe that I really don't need a degree for, that I believe that someone coming straight out of high school can just do, you know what I'm saying? There are definitely bad
hmm
parts, but uh, they require you to have some form of a engineering degree in a medical field in order to have my job. So that is the stipulation with
mm
that. So yeah, some parts you don't need a degree for, but they require you to have a degree in order to be able to call yourself a quality engineer. So,
Gotcha.
yeah,
So you said you took a course or some courses around biocompatibility. Is that
yes, sir,
right?
that's correct.
And is that bro, you gotta calm
Ah, that's
yourself.
form of habit. You know where I'm from. It's form of habit. It's form of habit.
I know. But so what I wanted to ask about that is that looking at kind of like how I guess a foreign object
Mhm.
or material um reacts to, or your body reacts to that material being placed inside of your body or on your
That
body.
is correct. That is correct. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Um, I've been a quality engineer or some form of a quality engineer for about 7 years now. So
Mm.
yeah, so and I have worked previously for a company there called Baxter International. So
hmm
they do invasive medical devices that actually go through your body. So what it is, yeah,
Okay.
it's a tubing that is for kidney dialysis kits is what they make, and so there is a piece of tubing. that goes and feeds through your body to. So what happens is there's a solution and then a machine that pretty much cycles the solution through your kidneys to clean them out. Because when you're getting your dialysis treatment, your kidneys lose their function of cleansing, so you're more prone to infections and so forth. So the kidney dialysis kits
Mm-hmm.
actually flush in a pretty much a chemical that is biocompatible that allows your body to cleanse your kidneys, but as it
Mm.
cleanses, it needs somewhere to go. So there's another tube that feeds through the kidneys that goes into a drain bag, and then the drain bag catches all the waste is what they call it. So the waste spills through, goes to a drain bag, and then they remove the waste and then actually pour it off into a toilet and some other things. But we're not going to talk about that part. But yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Gotcha. That's pretty. I know my aunt. She had to take dialysis, so that's interesting to like hear how all that
Yeah,
works, and somebody who actually works, in the field around some of that equipment or technology that she had to use on a I guess a somewhat daily but a weekly basis because she had to go to dialysis. I think it's like what typically 3 or 4 times a
yeah.
week they typically go to dialysis.
Three or
Yeah.
four times a week.
So
Yeah, usually.
yeah.
So there's three different setups for kidney dialysis treatments. You have it where you can go to a clinic, which that is three times. Yeah, usually either daily or three times a week. And then you also have the same setup for a hospital setting. So it's different types of equipment and different types of like kidney dialysis. Well, the different types of kits come with that as well. So, and then you
Mm,
have also where you can do it at home, which is a daily cleanse every single day while you're watching TV or you're out and about. Because
mm,
actually, the company I work for came up with a side pouch for kidney dialysis. That came up with like a little side pouch, and you can go anywhere you want to, and it actually functions just put it over your shirt. Well, put it underneath your shirt. You don't even know it's there. But as it works during the day, all you do is just drain off the waste. So that's actually pretty cool. Yeah, that was something they were working on a little bit before I left, and I finally released it in 2021, around
oh, cool.
2021 time frame. So, and I
Mm,
always thought that was
mm.
interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that was going to be one of the questions that I asked you. Like, well, just about that specifically, did you see any, or like, did you have any idea where that industry was going, like the with the whole thing with the kidney? So to hear that, because I've never heard of anybody doing anything like that
Yeah,
before, being able to walk around with you know
yeah.
being dialyzed. So
Exactly.
yeah.
And the other thing that they worked on is, like I said, you could be able to do it in your house, but do it while you sleep. So and
Mm,
actually, so all of that is monitored by the doctor as well through Wi-Fi. Yeah.
okay.
So, and actually, the Wi-Fi is through a satellite, and so what happens is if anything with the machine notices any situation, any fluctuations or anything, the doctor's notified through their cell phone. It's a cell phone that connects to the kidney dialysis machine, and through
Mm-hmm.
that machine, it sends notifications to the doctor to let them know, hey, there's something going on with the patient. You need to check in on them. Or, hey, the patient needs new kits to do their dialysis treatment. So, or needs new fluids, or and so forth. So, I thought that was interesting as well.
Interest. That is interesting. So can the doctors control like the machine
Yeah,
remotely?
that can actually troubleshoot the machine remotely. That was,
Oh
yeah.
wow.
So if they're having, say, for instance, patients having issues and the machine's not wanting to run, they can call the doctor up, and the doctor can look on the phone and say, "Oh, you need to go back and you need to reconnect your tubing, or you need to go back and
Mm-hmm.
reset your." Is they call it a cassette piece, but
Mm-hmm.
reset that cassette piece because the door is not closed all the way, and that's why it's not functioning. And they're also on the piece of equipment as well, which I thought was interesting. There's a tutorial on the equipment. It's a video screen of a tutorial of how to set it up as well. So
Gotcha,
yeah,
gotcha. So you say your undergrad was in biomedical engineering,
that's
right?
correct.
What made you want to get into that? Money, cars.
Clothes, no, I'm just kidding. Money, cars, and clothes. No, actually, it's funny how I ran into my major because that was not my first. That was not my first choice, actually. I
Mhm,
knew I wanted to be in the medical field, and I also knew that I wanted to be a doctor. And so what happened was I was like, well, I'm good building, I'm good designing. I've done that pretty much since I was like 14, 12. So what can I get into? Okay, my parents actually said you need to be an engineer, and I was like, huh.
mhm.
So I kind of Googled what an engineer does, what an engineer is, and I found out that it kind of aligns with what I like to do. And so, because I did a lot of Lego blocks as well, so I thought that was,
Mm,
which
yeah.
yeah, which apparently leads into people wanting to be engineers. Didn't know that, but I got a lot of
Mhm,
Legos, and so I knew I was going. I got accepted to Mississippi State University. Actually, I got accepted to
mhm.
some other places as well, but the one that I could afford was Mississippi State University. So I had their list. They sent me a list of engineering majors, and on this little list, I went up and down the list, had my eyes closed, looking all up and down the list, and then I stopped. And where I stopped was biomedical engineering. So that's how I became a
Gotcha.
biomedical engineer.
Cool, cool.
Yeah,
I gotta say, I had a lot of Legos as well growing up, but I sure as hell didn't want to be an engineer. So
it takes a special one.
I guess I was the exception. It takes a
It takes
special.
a special one. I'm going to tell you
I
because
was definitely the exception
yeah,
to that rule.
it's a lot of exceptions to engineering. Let me tell you, because I was about to be an exception as well. Because I got to my sophomore year and I was like, man, I can't keep doing this. I'm about to say, and then I was like, no, I'm gonna push through. This is what I want to do. I'm gonna push through. And I got to my junior year. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this anymore. And then I don't know. I just kept telling. I kept going back and forth. And before I knew it, I was graduating. I was like, well, I guess I did
Mhm.
it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So yes, so two things. I'm glad you brought that up. Were there any special things that you did to push through? Because I know a lot of people with majors like engineering, they end up changing their major
yep,
into something that's not as, I guess, as challenging or demanding. So were there like any support systems, or I guess like study groups or anything like that that you did, or like
yeah.
prayer, or like how did
A
you get
lot
through
of
that?
that. So give praise to the Most Highs. You know what I'm saying? Because he
All
knew
right.
what he wanted. He knew what I wanted as well. So he pushed me. Um,
Yeah.
so it was. So my situation was very different compared to a lot of my colleagues that were in biomedical engineering. So
Hmm.
bio, well, first I'll start off. So biomedical engineering was something new that started at Mississippi State. It was technically biological engineering, and then they broke it up to biomedical engineering. So you had people that were biological engineers and biomedical engineers, which is for it's some terminology. I'm not very familiar with it, but there's some terminology that breaks it off to make it different. So, um, and the one crazy thing. So I started off with myself first. So I was working three jobs to get myself through college. So I
Mm.
was one of those that when it came to study groups, I never got invited to any study groups. I kind of had to learn everything on my own. So Google
Mm.
became a really good friend. And so, but it also came down to I had to read a lot. I had to pretty much practice a lot as well. Uh, take a lot of notes, a lot of good notes, because there's a big difference in someone that's taking notes and there's someone that's taking good notes. So yeah,
Right.
one thing I'm very good at is taking good notes. And no one else might not be able to read it, but I can take good notes. That's one thing I can say I can do. And so that's what it came down to with me being in biomedical engineering because when I started off, sophomore, well, my freshman and my sophomore year, um, I took a lot of good notes, studied way too much, and then, but it's for me, it wasn't clicking as it was for other people. And then I found out it's
Mm-hmm.
because they were in study groups, which
Mm.
I never got invited to any study groups. And so
Yeah.
what happened after that? So I got to my junior year. So, and this is something that a lot of people don't know about me is I almost got expelled from Mississippi State because I was doing. Girls, don't laugh. That ain't funny. Because, like I said, I was working three jobs. I also was in the Air Force, and so doing morning workouts, working, and going to school just became to be overwhelming to the point my
Mm-hmm.
GPA dropped to a 1.9. And I got my letter from Mississippi State, and they said, "Hey, you need to do something because we're about to kick you out." And so I did something. So eventually, I got my grades back up. I told the Air Force I was done, and then from that point forward, I focused on my school. I still worked three jobs because I didn't really have a choice. If I trusted to
Yeah.
leave, if I could do any of the three jobs, I'd be doing great. But did away with did away with the Air Force, all the extracurriculars that came with that, and then I focused on my degree. And then it became to a point where it started clicking my junior year because it switched for me. It switched from having an understanding for book smart to concept, and I'm a concept person.
Mm.
So
Mm-hmm.
conceptually, I can do very well. Now, when it comes to reciting stuff out of a book, I'm not your guy. I am not. I am not the
Yeah.
person that you
Yeah.
want to ask. So it switched over to concepts, and then theory, and then methodology, and all this kind of stuff. And so when it switched over to all that, I was good in those aspects. And so my GPA switched from 1.9, 2.9, 3.0, and then I graduated with a 3.5. So
Mm.
that's how. So once my junior, which it was crazy because everyone else that were in the study groups, freshman and sophomore year, when it switched over to junior year, they weren't getting the concepts. They were struggling with the understanding of what
Mm.
was going on. Whereas I went from being on the bottom, well, yeah, being on the bottom to kind of being closer to the top. And then they would ask me to join study groups and ask me, questions about what do you think about this, or how do you get that understanding and blah blah blah. And so now I never told my secret about anything, and I maintained to myself. And so I had one study group, and it is mostly because those group of guys, and then I believe those group of guys, they they were part of my senior group, if that makes sense. So you have a senior
Mm-hmm.
design group that you have to be in. They were part of that group, and so I would explain to them certain things, and then
Mm-hmm.
you know, for so forth. And now remembering there was one gentleman, but we didn't meet until my junior, right at the end of my junior year to my senior year. I remember him. He super smart, ridiculously smart, really good guy, and he helped me through the West. He helped me through some other classes through the way. So yeah, so that's kind of how I got there, and then all the way through college. So yeah, it was interesting.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that sounds like a lot, but I wasn't laughing at you. I was laughing with you because I got a letter from Mississippi State as well about me being on probation, but I didn't find out about it until I was working on my my
Yeah,
PhD, and I went back through some of the old letters and stuff, and I was like, damn, I was about to get kicked out of school and didn't even know.
didn't even know
So
it.
didn't even know. So luckily, I got my shit
Yeah,
together and
that's why I call it
got
too.
my grades back
Yeah,
up. Yeah, yeah. Another thing that you mentioned too was about like you being into all these other different things. Like you knew you wanted to be in the medical field, but you were good or you had interest in all these other things, and so you kind of ended up with the biomedical degree. But to me, that sounds kind of like more like, I don't want to say divine intervention, but just like realizing your
Yeah,
purpose
for
in a
sure.
sense, or um, or being put on a path of a purpose.
Yeah,
But so for me, like I love drawing, I love technology and all that stuff, and I ended up with internet with the instructional design degree, well, master's and doctorate. But I had no idea what instructional design was, and at the time when I was an undergrad, it was a relatively
yeah,
new, I guess, career field or whatever you want to call
yeah.
it. And so I ended up graduating with that and with my graduate degrees, but it really encapsulated everything that I loved. So I think that's important for people to really get out there and research the different degrees, because I say it all the time, we have our parents or people telling us to go to college, but I think a lot of the times it's just those big like
Yeah,
areas like engineer or programming or doctor or lawyer, teacher or whatever, and is not really into these specialized areas now. And I really think with college degrees that they need to be like these hybrids or more like interdisciplinary studies and have like one part this, one part that, and not so focused on all these other things, because that seems
exactly.
like with like all my jobs, you have to know how to do everything, it seems like.
Exactly.
So, uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm about to say, and I'm glad you actually spoke started that conversation as well, is because that's like I was telling one young gentleman the other day, because he was like, how did you get your career path? And I said, well, the first thing I had to start with is what what can I get my fulfillment on? Does that make sense? Like, what
Hmm.
can I see myself doing for extensive amounts of time and not get too tired of it? And then
Hmm.
also, what can I feel like I have an impact? Because that's one thing for me is I always wanted to feel like I'm making an impact on something or I'm making an impact on
Right.
someone else's life. And that's why I chose the field that I wanted to be in, because it seemed like, well, from that time frame, it seemed like anything medical had an impact on someone's life to either make it better or to make their life more fulfillment. Uh, because usually, if you're needing these devices, you have something extensive going on in your life, or you have some huge medical what's the word I'm looking for, disadvantage that you can't
Mm.
live life to the fullest because, I mean, unfortunately, you have a medical disease or you have something that your body is not allowing you to do. So, and that's the reason why, and that's another reason why I like to be in the medical field as well. And then it was funny because the gentleman he was like, well, I chose his degree was like mechanical engineering, and I said, that's a good one as well. He said, but he went on to say that I feel like I'm caught in a small group, but I want to branch out to being medical as well. And he said, but you don't see a lot of mechanical engineers branch out to being in quality roles or into being in the medical field. And I said, it always depends on what you try to learn. Just because
Hmm.
you're a mechanical engineer doesn't mean you can't take a medical class. Yeah,
Right.
so you have to know what your interest is, and then even though they're telling you no, that's what your interest is. That's what you feel like you should be doing. So go ahead and go do it.
Hmm.
So, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I think that's great. And I wrote about it in my book briefly, but I talked about when picking out like your
yeah,
career or your major. A lot of people I think a lot of people decide whether or not they want to go with the major or career that's purpose based or pay.
yeah,
So I have it like pay versus passion or something like
exactly.
that, or purpose. Because some people are just all about the money, so we get people in these fields and they really don't give a damn
Yeah,
about whether or not they're doing a good
that's
job
very
or
true.
being a good doctor or lawyer or teacher. I mean, I read somebody post on Facebook on my feed, and they said that as long as their kids come in and sit down and don't act up, they'll give them an A.
Yeah,
And I'm just thinking to myself,
it's not
well,
the way.
damn, like it's not the
Yeah,
way. But so it really depends on the purpose, I mean the
yeah,
person. And I think sometimes you can get lucky or fortunate enough to be able to have like both of those things. But I think oftentimes it's hard to, especially if you're going to do something like um, social science or a teacher or art or something like that, when all those things have a lot of different value to people in different ways. Because I had a friend who really was downing people who majored in art, but I was like, isn't everything that we do,
Yep, it is.
movies, the visual packaging, like packaging and unboxing has become such a big thing
Yep,
now that packaging really sells products and really
exactly.
speaks to people. So it's all important,
Exactly.
but like those
Very,
people really don't make a lot of money.
yeah, and
Yeah.
that's like now. Who would have thought packaging engineer? There are packaging engineers now,
Mm.
and what they do, like there are companies that are literally putting out jobs requesting for packaging engineer, and it recently became a very hot area to be in, and the
Mm-hmm.
reason being is because, say for instance, where I work at now. So I work for a company that makes ceiling lifts. So it's hoist and transfer of patients. And so we're wanting a packaging engineer, mostly because we don't want this because if you think about it in this sort of fashion, you have this product and you want it to be able to fit in the smallest box possible without it getting damaged.
Mm.
But you don't understand the concept of the packaging. So what can you use to do that? You don't know. So who do you
Mm-hmm.
hire? A packaging engineer who understands concept, who understands this sort of setup here, who can design it for you. This will get you the biggest bang for your buck. Because I know
Mm-hmm.
when I worked for Baxter, man, per box they were spending not even per box. I remember we had a shipment of boxes come in that was $50,000, and that shipment of boxes was literally nothing. It wasn't even this inserts that go on the inside of the box. It was just the outside box. And I remember they wanted to change. Well, one of my improvements that I suggested to them was to change the dimension of the box to go up 1 inch.
Mm-hmm.
Just to go up 1 inch, it was like $50 a box. And we have for one pallet, it was like 748 boxes on a pallet. So $50 increase. What? Yeah, they were talking millions of dollars extra for box, just for the boxes, just for packaging. So and now people and that's why it became a hot, packaging engineer became such a hot area to be in. It's because if I can save you for spending $1 million on extra packaging that you don't even need, then you could take that
Mm-hmm.
$1 million and take it somewhere else and put it into the company. So
Yeah.
yeah, and for someone to make the statement that certain areas of study is not very important, I beg to disagree, especially with the way the
Yeah.
world is working now. All the
Mm-hmm.
traditional ways that people were thinking of, oh, you got to be an engineer. Oh, you need to be a
Yeah.
mechanical engineer. It doesn't work that way nowadays. It's always
Yeah.
it's always something new. Always something new.
Always,
Oh yeah,
man. It's crazy.
yeah,
Um. So how was your career journey? Like, what was your first professional
mhm,
job, and how did that like lead into where you're at now as a senior quality engineer?
yeah. Man, I love answering this question. So I graduated in 2014. I applied for 4 different places. It was Medtronics, Smith and Nephew, Baxter, and there's Biotronic. So these are all competitors. 3 make the same medical devices, and 1 didn't. Smith and Nephew did not make the same device. They make more invasive products. I got a phone call from 3 of those. It was not Smith and Nephew. I wished it was, but I got a phone call for 3 of them. And then Baxter called me and they said, "Hey, we're wanting to do a phone interview." Did the phone interview with them, and then said, "All right, we want to do an in-person interview." Did the in-person interview. They actually rented me a rental car, gave me a credit card for food and gas, and then They let me explore the town. I did my interview, and then that following Monday, because that was on the weekend, that following Monday, they said, "Hey, we would like to pursue you in a quality engineering role." And they said your start date would be in July. So July 2015. That's where I started at Baxter Healthcare International. And then from there, I had worked there as a quality engineer for um, about 5 years. I worked as a quality engineer there, and then actually I did a turn. I did a turn, and so I went from quality engineering to manufacturing supervisor, which technically is unheard of because um, so quality to manufacturing is a completely different mindset.
Mm.
So, and a lot of times they will not let you make uh, that turn in your career path because it's understanding. Okay, I'm manufacturing. This is our goals now. So you have to have an understanding, manufacturing goals, understanding of what you're supposed to do. Whereas in quality, you only worry about the quality of your product. Well, you worry about more than just quality of product. You're worrying about, okay, so what can we do to make this faster? What can we do to make this better, but keep our quality at the same time? And so a lot of times you don't see quality people making the jump from quality to manufacturing. But I actually got asked to be a manufacturing supervisor. So I went from quality engineering first shift to manufacturing supervisor second shift, and then I did that for about a year and a half. And then I got a phone call from Handicare, where I'm currently at now, and they said they needed quality engineering help. And I said, right now I'm a manufacturing supervisor. And they said, that's fine. What was your previous role? I said, I'm a quality engineer. Well, previously I was a quality engineer. It's like, how long were you in that role? I said, I was in that role for 5 years. And I said, oh, well, that's fine. We want to offer you a senior quality engineer role because we really need someone that has medical device experience. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's how I went from working for Baxter for 6 years to now working for Handicare for 2 years. So that's the senior quality engineer. So and that's where I've been so far. So
Cool, cool. That's that's not that bad.
yeah,
It's I think you stayed in roles pretty
yeah.
like a long time compared to me. Like
Well,
if they keep me for a year, I've been doing good.
so, see you later, okay, friend.
Typically, it's gonna be some red flags, and I'm like, I'm out of
Yep.
here.
Oh, trust me.
Um,
There's always some red flags. Um, I guess I'll go into why I left Baxter. So the reason why I left Baxter was because me, I had not really a dream, but I had goals that were set up for myself. And then so one of the goals where I wanted to be a quality manager or want to be in a
mhm,
managerial role. And then also I wanted to make 100K a year. That was my goal. That's what I wanted to be in. And unfortunately, at Baxter, I couldn't see myself doing that. Mostly because
mm,
some of the people that were already in the role had been there 10 plus years. And you had some
mm,
people who were in not manager roles, but roles right below a manager, but they've been in their role for like 20 plus years. So yeah,
mm,
so I couldn't. I'm not willing to wait that long. So I saw opportunity,
yeah,
and I went ahead and moved through that opportunity. And
yeah.
that's why I'm in now.
Well, that's the thing with a lot of jobs. Once people start moving up and getting into those more senior roles, they aren't going to leave because they're getting all the benefits.
Yep.
They don't have to do a lot of the grunt work, and you know they're getting
Yeah.
the big dollars. So,
Exactly. Exactly. It's like being a senator,
so you
right?
have right,
Yeah. Being a senator, like, yeah, I'm 68, but I'm gonna stay here. I got 10 more years
exactly,
in me. I'm gonna stay here. Like, sir, you're 68. Let
exactly.
someone else step in. All
Go
right.
home.
Exactly. Retired. You have reached your
Your
pension.
grandkids miss you.
Your great grandkids miss you. let someone else get into that role and see what changes they can make. You've done a lot or little, whichever one. But
Thank you for your support.
it's, thank you for
I
your
have to
time.
start treating them.
Thank you
Yeah,
for your support and time.
but yeah, so you have to you have to jump around. Maybe not as much as I've had to change jobs. I don't want to necessarily say I've jumped around a lot because it definitely hasn't been the case. Like for instance, the last job at Disney was a internship, and then Cubic was definitely well, I was about to get fired from Cubic, but I quit before I got fired. So I went on
You
vacation
did
and
the
never
smart
came
thing.
back.
That's the
Yeah.
smart thing to do.
I and then Kratos, it was a contract gig,
Oh,
so
okay.
like it was like budget stuff, and so they had to cut me a month early. Then I went to Deloitte, got laid off. They got a new CEO or president or something, and he did a 3% like
Yeah.
cut on the workforce. And then I did Uber for 3 months, and I was like, God, the first thing comes my way, I'll take it. And I think that the devil answered that prayer because I got sent to a hellish place.
Oh man.
Um, yeah, and I'll just leave it at
Yeah.
that. But
Uh,
now I'm at
there
Discover.
you go. It got better. That's
It got better.
exactly,
Yeah, it's a lot better.
exactly,
It's a lot better
exactly.
at
I
Discover.
was just about to say
Um,
when you said, I lost my train of thought. I lost my train of thought. When you were talking about, oh yeah, when you talking about how a new CEO came in and laid off people, that's exactly what happened here at Handicare. Was they were so before they were purchased. So they were purchased three different times. So
hmm
they were three different names prior, and then it became Handicare, and then this last purchase. So before this last purchase was Severia, they had a huge layoff, and I mean huge. They I mean they cut almost like 50% of the staff, and so
Oh wow.
every last person they had like 10 people in their quality on their quality team, and only two were
hmm
left. And then it was the
Oh dang.
quality manager and the quality technician. And so, and then once they cut them out, and then the quality, the no, she was a quality engineer. She decided I'm not doing all this work for nothing, so I'm gone.
hmm
So she left. The quality manager left first because he was like, I'm doing all this extra overtime, and I'm not getting paid for it. So he was like,
Right.
I'm finding something else, and he did. He found something else, and the young lady, she pretty much had the same concept, but she went. Well, she wanted to work from home 100%,
hmm
and they said this is not that type of job. And so, in saying that, she was like, I got to go. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. It's not that type of job, and I'm gonna respect that, but I'm not saying. So she checked out
Yeah.
after that, and then
Yeah.
the new quality people came in, and then they recently just let go of the quality manager, and which was crazy in another
hmm
sense as well. So there's not even a quality manager at the site that I'm at right now. So and I take most of like the management responsibility, but we're going to have to talk about that.
mm Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. We're going to have to talk about that.
Right. Um. So I guess how do you see the industry changing, especially with a lot of the AI and like I don't think Chat GPT or anything like that would affect what you're doing, but robotics and that sort of thing. Do you see or do you hear people being afraid that that might take their jobs, or do you see it being more of an assist?
So um, I see it doing a little bit of both because the way when I worked for Baxter, so Baxter was becoming more the robotics and so forth. So they already had uh, robot in their finished good department. They had robotics doing most of the finished good assembly, but they also had technicians in there and they had operators and supervisors in there to monitor the entire process. So I mean, that's why I say a little bit of both. They did. I mean, they did unfortunately cut the staff in probably more than half,
Mm,
but the robotics took that place, and then they kept pretty much kept their good people and the ones that actually wanted to do the work. That's another thing, and that's what trips me out about a lot of people. They say, "Well, robotics is going to take my job. AI is going to take my job." Well, here's the thing: if you do a great job, they're going to want you to stay. But if you
mm,
don't do your job, yes, they're going to let the robotics and the AI take your place. Just like they were worried about. So at Baxter as well, they have what they call uh, automated forklifts, and so which the actual personnel forklift drivers were like they're about to pretty much release all of us, and then these forklifts, these automated forklifts are going to take our spot. But that wasn't the case because
mm,
with the automated forklifts, they were only capable of doing so much. They were not capable of what a person could do. So you can tell a person, hey, I want you to go over and pick that up, and I want you to take it down to the other end. With the automated forklifts, it's a little bit different because you have to be able. So they were actually called laser guided forklifts. So what
mm,
happens is there's a laser sits on the top, and then they have reflectors. And as the laser hits the reflectors, it tells them what squadron it's in as it travels. And so based off the squadron, that's how I knew where it was supposed to be at. And so with personnel, though, it's a whole lot different. You don't need a laser. You don't need to put a reflector there to let the forklift, the automated forklift, know where it needs to go to. So, and they were very worried about that. But and at the end of it all, we kept every last one of our forklift drivers. We kept all our forklift drivers, and then also the automated. But I do see what I foresee is AI taking over like customer experience jobs or customer service jobs. That's what I do see, and there's a lot of customer service careers out there for people, but I see it
mm,
being very short come soon.
mm.
Because once they figure out about AIs and how they can program AI to take customer calls, to document complaints, transfer calls, and so forth,
Hmm.
that's it's just the next thing coming. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, we're gonna let you go because this is the route that we're going
Right. And I think we can see that now in a lot of
for
industries,
sure.
just with like the bots, the chat bots that you can get on there, ask questions, because that's the first line of customer service that you get now on
Yep.
most websites. At the very least, you have to talk to a chat bot, and it
Mm-hmm.
takes you through these series of questions.
Yep.
And if it can't answer it, then you can get some live person to come on and help you with your issue. So,
Exactly.
I,
Yeah,
yeah,
most of the
yeah, I
banks,
can definitely see
that's
that.
kind of what they kind of resorted to. If you're having any type of
Hmm.
issue, they have the option to chat with someone, is what they call it, and that's how they rope you in. Oh, you can just chat with someone, and you click on it, and it's not even someone. It's just a robot. That's all it is. An
Yeah,
AI robot asks a series of questions, and sometimes you can get to an actual person, but it takes a while because that robot's going to ask you
yeah.
more questions on top of that. And if you don't answer them questions, they're gonna be like, "Hey, you didn't answer this question, so we gonna need you to answer it."
It definitely does. It's irritating
Oh
to me,
yes,
but
I agree.
yeah, because a lot of times they can't answer my
No,
questions.
it can't.
I can like Google a lot of stuff that the chat bot tells me, and
Exactly.
I was like, okay, I have a more serious issue than this.
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly. That's like when I lost my debit card and someone put a charge in there. So I tried to chat to someone because I couldn't call them. So I tried to chat with someone, and that
uh,
robot, it just kept going. It just kept going. It's like, oh, okay, you need a new debit card. No, I don't. I need to dispute this charge. So you
yeah,
want a
yeah,
new debit card? No, I don't. And then I finally got a hold of someone, and they were like, "Oh yeah, so what we're gonna do?" And then disputed the charge. I had a new debit card sent to me and everything. I was like, "Why y'all got these robots?" I'm about to
Could have saved us all a lot of time here.
exactly. I'm about to lose my phone.
So, what skills besides, I guess you can talk about maybe the hard and soft skills that you would say that somebody would need as a um, quality engineer?
Yeah, so a lot of a lot of the skills does come with. So I would put it this way: some of the soft skills would probably just be understanding of like Microsoft Office, PowerPoint, Excel, Visio, which is project planning, also uh, Microsoft Word, so forth. But more of the hard skills would be they call it root cause analysis is what they call it, and having an understanding of root cause analysis because a lot of your job is, I mean, you have something that's an issue, and then you have to
Hmm.
pretty much trend it through to figure out how can you get to a root cause so it doesn't happen again. Because a lot of times that's what customers are looking for, and then that's what your team is looking for as well. And then also another thing they call them CAPAs, which is corrective actions and preventative actions. It also involves root cause analysis, but before you even get to that, you have to identify what your actual problem is, and then what actions can you take to go to get to attack your root cause analysis. And so, though, and some people might argue with me, but another hard skill would be understanding your product,
Mm-hmm.
because when I came in, there wasn't anyone that actually trained me for the Handicare job, which is a different medical device. No one trained me. I actually learned it all within a year's time. Actually, I learned everything within a 6 months time frame, and it's more because I had to. And also because, and again, I'm good at conceptually. I'm good at concepts. So conceptually, I can look at something and figure out, okay, this is what this does. This is how this functions. This, and this works together to get that to work. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's another hard skill that I think you should have is understanding concept, and then also just pretty much understanding how your area works, how other areas and functions work together to achieve the goal as well. So, but yeah, that's just a few of those.
Gotcha. What about those people skills like communications and things like that?
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up. That's actually a very good point because I was talking to our plant manager the other day, and I said, "Hey, communication here needs to be improved." So
Mm-hmm.
communication is key. When people say that, they absolutely mean that because you you can't do a project and then solely only involve yourself and don't involve anyone else in the process, but they have a piece of that process. If that makes
Right.
sense, so
Yeah.
they have a piece, but you're involved in on the changes you want to make. You just made the changes. So how are
Mm-hmm.
they going to know what to do if you haven't involved them? So yes,
Yeah.
communication is a big one as well, and also how to present yourself as well. Because I'm about to say I've worked with some people that I was always told to be very professional.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was told. That's what my parents told me. Even in school, one of my mentors,
Yeah.
he was like, Ira, he's like, I know you're a fun person to be around, but you need to work on your professionalism, and that's something I did. And so,
Mm-hmm.
but apparently, some other people didn't get that, didn't get that lesson as well. So when it comes to professionalism, it's not there. It doesn't it
Yeah.
doesn't click per se as people say. So yeah,
Yeah. That's definitely. I was having this conversation about professionalism and I guess just the way that people present and culturally
yeah,
how people communicate. So that's my biggest struggle with corporate America is professionalism
yep,
because like you know me
yes I do.
outside of
Yes I do.
you know the real world
Yeah,
Carlos, not Dr.
yeah,
Loso. Um it's a struggle for me to be professional and even with this podcast like I wanted and to do my own thing but I'm trying to figure out like where to walk that line
Yep.
because I don't want to turn people off,
Yes.
and I want to have like a lot of opportunities with this, but I don't want to get on here and be too,
Relax. There you
relaxed.
go.
That's a good
Yeah.
way of
There
putting
you go. There you go.
it.
I'm a wordsmith,
But
so
no, and that's my problem. I'm just kind of like, really blunt.
yeah, it's okay.
But
Transparency.
so corporate America, we were talking about culturally. Where I was talking to them, like how culturally, how like black people talk a lot of
Yeah,
shit,
sure
and
do.
we don't really, we don't think anything about
Man,
it.
I'm one of them.
But I was at work a couple of times, and I was just being this Puerto Rican guy, so we just talking
Yeah.
shit, and the guy was like, "Ooh, you all are mean. You talking mean to each other," and we were like, "What?"
Yeah,
We're like, "This is just how we talk to each other."
exactly.
So same thing with another guy back at Cubic, another black guy. We were just talking and chilling and having a good time, and they just thought we were being like super aggressive, but
Exactly.
I was just, and that like started clicking in my head, and just like, oh, I have to really be careful what I
Yeah,
say around other people, even though I'm not talking to them directly.
right.
Like they still could be offended
Yep,
and go back and complain about it. So
exactly. And
it's like,
it's funny. It's funny that you talk about that because when I started at Baxter, me and this other guy, like that's how we communicated. Like people tell me all the time. They say you're very transparent, and I said, well, no, I'm just straight to the point because I don't want to be frank. I don't want to bullshit around. I want to get this done. And
mhm,
so,
yeah,
but I had one of my managers. She was like, we had a 101. So there's lots of 101s you have. When you're in your career, they do a lot of 101s.
yeah,
And so I had a 101, and she said, I understand that your personality is very transparent, blunt, straight to the point. Others are not that way. So you're going one thing I'm gonna challenge you with is for you to kind of keep your eye out for situations and not get yourself in a situation because you are being, transparent and blunt. Because some people don't take that very well.
mhm,
And
yeah,
yeah, and then she said she told me that you was having a conversation with one of the assistant supervisors in the plastics department, and the manager came and told me that you were being rude, disrespectful, and unprofessional. I said, "What?" I was like, "What?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" They were like, well, I'm not gonna say the crazy thing, but he was in plastics, and I said, "There's no way. That's how we talk to each other. That's how we communicate." He knows I'm joking. She's like, "Oh, I understand. I understand it." And he knows that, but the people that are looking in from the outside, they don't understand that. They don't understand that concept. So you have to be very watchful and mindful about how you communicate to people in front of different atmospheres. And so, yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I feel like there's just a case of like people need to mind their own damn business,
exactly.
because like if that's how is that affecting you, because
Thank
we're
you.
having like this way of communicating with
Exactly.
each other.
Exactly, man.
So
Exactly. That's like,
everything ain't for everybody. So if I know you're sensitive or don't take kindly to that type of
yeah,
language or like delivery, then I don't talk to you like that.
exactly.
I don't talk to everybody the
No,
same
I
way.
do not.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And actually, I was talking to a guy up here in our purchasing department. I mean, he's very straight to the point, blunt, and so am I. And so when we have conversations going back and forth, it was kind of funny because uh, my manager had asked me a question about a situation that he was involved in, and I told her exactly what I told him. She was like, "Oh, that's how you told him that?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "That's how we talk to each other. That's how we communicate." She was like, "Oh, okay. Well, I wouldn't have done it like that." And I'm like, "No, I understand, but that's just how we communicate. That's how we talk. And we
Right.
both know it ain't nothing coming from anything. We're just doing our
Right.
jobs. All I'm doing is communicating to you what you did wrong." And but yeah,
Yeah.
but man, they were like, no, they were like, please,
Yeah.
just be careful. And I was like, okay, I got you.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny when you're working in corporate America, just like those cultural like differences or
Exactly.
nuances that, you know, other cultures may not. understand with other cultures. So it's that's definitely
Yeah.
funny. I did wanted to ask you though. So could you explain, like, I guess, what is the difference, because you're in a more senior role now. So if
Mhm.
there's people out there listening that want to get into this and they're, in high school or college, what are the differences between I guess an entry level
Mhm.
quality engineer and then a senior level, like where you're at right now?
So entry level, you deal more with projects. It's more projects, more basic. It's more of a basic. What's that word? How should I say it? More basic interaction with the different departments.
Mm,
Whereas, like for example, you would do a project, but you would have a person like myself, a senior quality engineer, with you to assist you with the wording of your protocols, the wording of your validation, making sure that you have everything done, make sure that you have your. So, with quality engineer, documentation is everything. So, make sure you have the appropriate documentation. Make sure you're not falling out of your standards as well, which is regulatory, your procedures, and the company rules as well. So, and then, so as it, we switch over to the senior quality engineer, you already have these understanding of certain things. So you're more of like a mentor. Um, you're more like the go-to when questions need to be asked. Whereas in the quality, entry level quality engineer, they're not really asking you the questions. You're more doing more of the groundwork and making sure everything is taken care of up to a certain point. And then the quality engineer or the senior quality engineer. So the senior and there's also principal as well. Um, so the senior or the principal quality engineer, they'll take the project and carry it the rest of the way, making sure all the I's are crossed and T's, or all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. So yeah, the entry level is more like you doing the groundwork, whereas the senior quality engineer is doing more of the high level, talking to the different departments, the different department managers, the CEO or certain projects. It can even be the plant manager as well. So
gotcha, gotcha. Um, And what would you say are some professional development or like resources for people to like seek after in a quality engineering role or in like that biomed? Like, are there professional organizations? Are there like
okay.
websites that they could go to keep improving on their skills and stuff like that?
So with quality engineering, um, one of the key things I think will help out is having the understanding of acronyms. There's a few acronyms that will definitely that put you kind of towards the top of getting a quality engineering role, which is IQ, which is installation. Well, they call it, IQ, installation qualification. These are different validations. They have OQ, which is operation qualifications, PQ, which is performance qualification. So you can actually go to Google, type in quality system acronyms, and learning those acronyms and then definitions of those different processes as well will definitely help you out as a quality engineer, especially entry level. And then
Okay.
and so forth as biomedical engineering, I think first you should. The first thing I tell people is if you want to be a biomedical engineer, my challenge to you is pick a medical device, whether it's invasive or whether it's an external hoist or anything that interacts with an actual patient, and try to break it down. Try to break it down. What is it used for? What would you do to improve on it? Um, how does it interact with the person and so forth? If you and then answer those questions during your breakdown. If you can't answer those questions or you struggle a lot to answer those questions, you might want to read up a little bit more of being a biomedical engineer because those concepts, those questions are have to do a lot with the biomedical engineering field. Because some of them, so biomedical engineers are also they also are considered some form of a technician because they go in
Mm.
and they fix medical equipment as well. So and that's a lot of that you have to have an understanding of. It's looking at a piece of equipment, breaking it down. Okay, what does this interact with? What does this go with? How can I fix it?
Hmm.
So
Gotcha, gotcha. Good stuff. I think that's kind of important. I don't really know how it is in just I guess areas outside of ed tech, and that's where my specialty lies. But we have a lot of onboarding material that has a lot or most or some of those acronyms in them, just depending on where you
right,
work at. I don't know if you all have any type of resources like that, but um, especially going into a new company. So, like when I was doing government defense at Cubic, the government had all these different acronyms for like the Navy, and then when I went to Kratos, the Air Force, they had their own
yeah,
set of acronyms that you had to learn. Same thing with Discover. So I think it's good advice to learn just kind of like industry
yeah,
standard acronyms and what those things mean. So for people, looking to get into that
yeah,
or preparing to enter into
right.
the job field, and when they get ready to interview and stuff, they'll have that knowledge already.
Yeah, and I always another thing I'm glad you brought up interviewing because that was another question that someone asked me about interviewing for different medical companies. I told them, I said, some steps that I typically do when I am sought after for a medical, sought after for a medical company and they have a particular position they want me to hold. The first thing I always do is figure out what standards are they certified underneath. So, like for instance,
Mm,
Handicare is their standard is ISO 13485, which is a piece of ISO 9001. So these are the international standards. So those standards are held by the International Standard Organization. So they are used internationally. So if you hold those standards, you can typically try to sell in a lot of different markets because you have those ISO standards. So definitely try
mm,
to figure that out before the interview, and then you know investigate in the company as well. What does the company do? How they treat their employees, so forth. And knowing all those steps, and then and that's another thing. A lot of the medical device companies that I have seen, they in their about on their website, they tell them what quality standards they hold up to. So that's
mm-hmm.
also another thing to look into. Like Baxter is really big in community, and then put it back into their people. So, and I found that on their website about them, and I thought that was really cool. And they were not lying; they were really big about their people and also about their community as well. So, yeah,
That's what's up. That's interesting that you said that about researching like the standards that the companies I guess operate
yes,
by or are
yeah,
part of. Because I didn't know that that was a
yeah,
thing. So my stuff is really relying on certification and
hmm,
degrees, and you don't really go to just a, I guess, a regular like hospitality or
yeah,
company,
exactly,
like a lot of these companies. But I guess when you get in these specialized medical and maybe
yeah,
law type fields, there are certain standards that they operate
exactly,
by or are a
yeah.
part of, or
And
so
a lot
yeah.
of times they have to because of what they're selling, what type of medical device they are selling into the market as well. Like they have to hold some
Mm,
form of a standard. And that's another thing as well is there's different standards for different countries. So for instance, Australia, they have what they call Therapeutic Goods Association. They call it TGA. Well, it's ATGA. So depending on what your medical device is, if you want to sell in Australia, you have to go through the ATGA first. You have to submit these documents, what products you want to do, and so forth, in order to even sell in Australia in the first place. So, and that's something else that
mm,
that's part of my responsibilities is I do all the regulatory affairs for Handicare. And they sell in
Mm,
different countries. And with that, you have to make sure you have the proper technical files, the proper quality documentation, supplier agreements, um, proper documentation for and proper documentation and testing for your devices as well that you're trying to sell in those markets. And it's not, and that's the other crazy thing as well is like for Australia, it's only good for three countries. I believe it's New Zealand,
mm,
and I think that's another one. I can't remember what the other one is. And then Australia. If you want to sell in the UK, the UK and the EU just separated. So now, if you want to sell in the UK, you have to have a UK representative in order to sell it there. And then you have to form a relationship between them, submit some stuff, and then also the same for Europe, which Europe actually encompasses a lot of people, but UK decided they wanted to be different and wanted to have different regulations. So now you like I just submitted all my stuff to EU. Now I'm gonna switch over to UK and submit the same thing, but put a
mm,
twist on it. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, so
mm.
you have to. That's something to be if you really want to have a big foot in quality engineering and a step ahead. It's learning your regulatory bodies, and then for each one of your countries
Gotcha.
as well. So, yeah, that's another big one.
Gotcha.
This is your boy Ira Hampton, and you're listening to Career Insights 501 with your boy Dr. Loso.
So what would be some things that you would say that you like and dislike about your
Yeah.
profession?
So I'm glad you brought this up because I was going to talk about it. So some things that I like. So some things I like is I like the interaction with the different departments. I like people's different viewpoints, and then I also like to see when you put an improvement through and how impactful that improvement is, or
Mm,
how it impacts the end user is what you hear a lot of time. So I like those. And then also like, so I've done VIP improvements, which those are based off value. So improvements in process to get you a big payout. And so
mm-hmm.
I've been involved in one that was worth, $1.2 million before. It was actually my idea, and all it was just changing up the way we package something so that it prevents half of the product being thrown away. And so
Was that the half inch thing that you was talking about
uh,
earlier?
no, actually, that was something completely different. So I, I'll go on.
Oh, so you got all the right ideas.
Not all of them. I had some. The tricky part. So that VIP idea was actually for my green belt. So I had a green belt for Six Sigma, and so my green belt
Okay.
project was there was some warpage happening to one of what we call a cassette. And so our cassettes are about six. Well, they were about $6.96 a piece. And so what was happening was so the cassette will be molded and then sent over to the finished good and then put together, and then we'll put it into a box. So we stacked about 30 in a box. The problem that was happening was the amount of pressure because the parts were hot. The warp what it would warp the cassette, and then
Mm,
it will make it difficult for the customer or the patient to put that cassette in the equipment. And then it goes back into the issue I was talking about prior to, making sure that the cassette is in the machine correctly. But the warpage was making it so it was not being placed into the machine correctly. So
mm,
my idea was, okay, we're going to stack these differently. So I bet 3 or 4 weeks full of trials and errors and all this until I finally came to one where I was like, yeah, let's stack it this way. And so we stacked it that way. We shifted out. Everything was smooth. Everything worked perfectly. Those complaints, I mean, there was like, I think I calculated, it's been a while. I think I calculated it was like a 65 or 64% decrease in the amount of complaints for that part.
mm,
So, and then also, since they didn't have to scrap any of that product anymore, or had to figure out any other differences to manufacture that part, that it saved them $1.2 million. So, Yeah.
Nice.
So actually got a little bonus on my check for figuring that out, which was pretty good. So yeah.
You should
Oh yeah,
have.
it
You
was
better
yeah,
have.
yeah, I remember the CEO came in and they wanted me to present the project as well. So I presented the project in front of the CEO, it was actually a bunch of global individuals, like a bunch of global leaders in the company. They came and I had to present
Hmm.
that idea. Well, I presented my
Oh,
idea,
nice.
and then what I do to fix it, and they had a few questions and so forth. So yeah, that was one of my biggest
That's
projects.
what's up.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, uh, but but yeah.
No
Oh,
dislikes.
well, I'm glad you get your pen and paper on this one. So some of the things I do, well, some things I dislike. So now in the medical field, a lot of what's happening is you have some companies that are getting acquired, but they're acquiring these companies and they're trying to lean out the company organization. So like all the different positions, they're trying to lean them out. So they don't want to have, like for instance, quality managers at each site. They just want to have one quality manager that's over multiple sites, one quality director that's over multiple sites, and it never works out. Uh, it it becomes a bigger headache because because the quality manager or the quality director pretty much freaks out, and it's like I don't know what they're doing, but I have to report on these people. I have to report up
Mm.
to my community person about what my people are doing, but I'm not there at the site. And man, it becomes a headache. And then you have these people that are not micromanagers become micromanagers because they're constantly, hey, what are you doing? Hey, this is a check-in. How are things going? Oh, I heard such, and then it's not even true. For instance, there was someone reported at my manager that I was not working my hours. I was not getting my hours in, and so before I start that story, so I have two boys. They're in school. So what I do is I go to work in the morning, and then I come pick them up first pick them up at home for school, drop them off at school, and then go back to work. And I had been doing that for a while, and so someone said that someone communicated or someone said told my manager that I wasn't getting my hours. And so my manager pulled me aside and said, hey, where were you at this point around this time? And I'm like, I was dropping kids off in school. She was like, oh, okay. Well, someone was saying that you weren't getting your hours, so you need to make sure you get your hours. Now, it's not such of a big deal, but it is kind of a big deal because that person, your manager, I'm a big on performance. My performance is led to my paycheck. So when it becomes pay raise time or when it comes to someone being offered a position, they go based off performance.
Hmm.
So if it hits my manager's mind that, oh, I can't really depend on him to be there when he's supposed to be there, hey, now I'm losing points on performance for my pay increase. Now I'm losing the opportunity to get another role that could lead me into another role. So it's not that big of a deal when you talk about it in such a fashion, but it is a big of a deal. So, but and the biggest kicker is she's in South Carolina. I'm here, and
Mm.
so she's always checking in and so forth. And so, which I understand, I have the understanding of why she has to do that because she also has to report up. But it does become a big
Right.
headache having to report in almost 3 times a week just to make sure that, oh, you're doing what you're saying you're doing and so forth. But if you have someone on site, you don't have to do the check in. They know what you're doing, they're there, you're having the conversations. So that's one big thing I don't like. Another thing I don't like is you're doing a role and then they bring in someone that comes new to the role. You're training them, you're showing them how to do things, but they get the next position in line. And they're
Mm.
saying that they're getting the next position in line because they did this and this prior to this. That doesn't make sense to me because the role you gave them is an department that I've been working for 5 years. That doesn't make sense to me. So I
Right.
picking favorites is what that comes down to, and that's a
Mm-hmm.
big thing with my role because my role is mostly, I wouldn't say mostly women, but majority of people are women. And so, well, quality engineers are women. Well, I wouldn't say majority. Well, yeah, I would say majority because when I worked for Baxter, there was only two guys, well, four guys, and then the rest were women, and it was a team of like 20. And so, and then like where I work now, it's me and another woman. Well, yeah, me, another one, my manager, she's a woman. So you get a lot of the women trying to uplift other women, even though they might not have the experience, they might not have the knowledge, or not even the
Mm.
understanding of the job or what the job entails or the processes or anything about the company. They might not have that understanding, but you're trying to uplift them. So during the uplift, now you're pushing them out. And then the people that have the
Mm.
experience, you push them out the other direction of leaving the company because you're not showing them the same respect. You're not showing them the same praise like you're showing the other ones, mostly because they're women. So I do run into that from time to time.
Do you think that that would happen with like any underserved community? So like somebody black or LGBT or Hispanic, do you think that they would tend to do the same thing? Like because I know equality and that stuff is a big thing, and there's a lot of groups out there that are very focused. I know like the black community is really vocal in corporate America about equality and that sort of thing. So I was just wondering what your take was on that.
So um, not so much the LGBT community, but I will say so. A lot of companies have to worry about so because like medical devices, for instance, um, they have to have a certain quota of uh, racial groups, right? So, like for
Mm.
black, like for when I worked for Baxter, there were Baxter community. It's not really big on a lot of black people being there. So, when I looked at the geographics on Google for Mountain Home, where the location I was at, the geographics for Mountain Home, there were only 100 black people out of 13,000 people, and I was the 101 when I
Mm.
moved there. And so and I'm glad you brought that up as well because one of my managers when I worked there, she said, "I am so proud of you," because she said, out of all the people that came through, you didn't see a lot of me coming through. You didn't see a lot of black people coming through, Hispanic people coming through, and to be truthfully honest, she fought for me to come work there, whereas it was a different scenario if she hadn't been there because I wouldn't have got the job. So,
Mm.
and when I started when I started from the time I started and then moving on to all the projects that I did, I got a lot of praise. I was up for an award. I moved to certain positions where, like I said, there was no person of color there, and that's what she
Mm.
was so proud of because she knew the area. She knew certain people in the area, certain conversations that were going on, and to see me move up through like I did, that's what the proud point came of. And then because I was also involved in certain organizations like veterans associations, I was out in the community. I did
Mm.
a lot of community runs, and those runs supported small business companies, small businesses in the community, and so forth. So that's that. And even the same thing. Well, this company, Handicare, it's a little bit different because St. Louis is a mixture. It's a mixture of all different types of
Mm.
people. So but being in a managerial role, though, still, yeah, you don't see a lot of colored people there, or people, or a person
Yeah.
of color there. And so,
Mm.
and like in the position that I'm in right now,
Colored people.
colored people. Anyway, like the person of color, excuse me. Like the position I'm in right now, uh, prior to me, there was no person of color. That the entire quality team was all Caucasian, which is neither here nor there. But And then I hear stories on the back end as well of it kind of being frowned upon about the position that I'm in. Because even with the pay that I make, a lot of people are like, we don't need him. So,
Mm,
and in certain situations, I feel like certain people were trying to get me fired because of the situation as well. So, but that's not proven. I can't prove that, but that's how I feel, especially in certain
hmm.
situations as well too. So,
Hmm.
yeah,
So that brings me into the next topic. It's pulled from my book, the section called "My Boss, My
no.
Enemy," and it's called "My Friend, My Enemy." So, is there a situation or a time when you had a colleague or a boss who were like maybe out to get you, or they really did something to help you along in your career?
So for most of I'll start with the positive first. So most of the managers that I've had the opportunity to work for, all been positive. They all try. They ask me what my goals are, what I want to do, and they push me towards it.
Hmm.
Now, when it comes to people that are supposed to be in the forefront with me, other quality engineers that are supposed to work along my side, that I have ran into situations where they were trying to get me fired, or trying to make
Mm,
it seem like I wasn't doing my job, or oh hey, he's late on this, he's late on this as well, and from a lot of the point of view, so are you. You are late as well, so why are you not reporting yourself as well? And
hmm.
I am not the only person that's late in this group as well. There are five other people that are late as well. Why are you picking me out of the crowd to say that I'm late on something? But it always seemed like they were out to get me, because
Hmm.
in any
Yeah.
other situation, that it was always me that was late on something, or it's always, oh, we're waiting on Ira to do such, 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 such. You don't have to wait on me. You
Mm,
could have finished that. You're the same role I am. You could have had that done and finished. You're not technically waiting on me, because if you're waiting on me, it will be assigned to me. Well, it's not assigned to me. You asked me
hmm.
to do a favor for you, and I went to do.
They're just waiting on you to do it,
Yeah, exactly.
not waiting on you.
Yeah, waiting on me, just waiting on me always. And so, but yeah, I've ran into situations like that where they're supposed to be my teammate, but they
Mm,
had other agenda, put it that way. So yeah.
gotcha. Gotcha. Um, so self care has been a big thing in the industry
Mhm.
lately. Ever since COVID, especially, you hear a lot of people talking about self care and self care practices. Are there any things that you do to relax, relate,
Oh,
release?
for sure. Um, so I play video games. That's one big thing. Um,
What do you play?
uh, I play GTA. I got to shoot some people.
Uh,
And then
didn't they just come out with a new one, or are they coming out
yeah,
with
they're
a
coming
new
out
one?
with a new one, supposedly. Now, they've been saying this for
Yeah.
about 2 years now. We're going to come out with
Oh,
GTA
okay.
6. Okay, we're going to wait on it. It's supposed to be coming out with GTA 6. We'll see how it goes. But I used to play Call of Duty. I'm trying to get into playing Fortnite. So I have a total of six kids. That's how we have. I have five boys and one girl. And so my four, oh, my three older sons and my wife, they all play Fortnite. And so it's something I'm trying
Oh.
to get in. I'm trying to get into. It looks fun. It just when it comes to buttons, I'm like trying to figure out which button to do what. But yeah, I mean to be truthfully honest, I probably will never tell my wife this, but most of my relaxed time where I feel comfortable and all the stress relieves is when I come home, because I enjoy my family. It might not seem like I
Right.
do, but I enjoy my family a lot, and I like to be
Yeah.
around them. And so that's where most of my release and stress just goes away. So yeah, and then
That's what's
yeah,
up.
I like to do vacations too, and I play the guitar, so that's another thing as well. So I have a little small little hobbies and
Okay.
stuff like that. So
Nice. Nice. Um, what is the weirdest interview question that you've been asked?
that's a good question. The weirdest interview question I've been asked.
Or what's the interview question that you hate to answer?
Oh, that I hate to answer. What would I change about myself? Yeah,
Oh,
it's not a weird one. But I always get tripped up on that question.
yeah.
Always. And I feel like I answer wrong every single time. But and then
How
also,
do you reply?
I always reply, I will not change anything because I have come to senses with myself and my flaws, and then I
Yeah.
try to improve on my flaws. So
Hmm.
that's the answer I always give. And and then I think the other one is what skill, what is a bad skill? And I'm like, a bad skill. I don't know. I procrastinate. I mean, I don't. That's all I got. I was
That
like,
is interesting. Is
yeah. I'm like, what's a bad?
is procrastinating a skill though?
Exactly. That's. I don't know how would you answer that? You know what I'm saying? Like
I don't
a
know.
bad skill. I don't know bad skills. I wouldn't really call it something that you're not good at. I wouldn't really call it a skill.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? I mean,
that's
yeah.
that is a trippy
Yeah,
one.
but I will also tell you that one question I got was, do you have? Someone asked me. Technically, they weren't supposed to ask me this question because of HIPAA reasons, but they asked me about my family, and I told her how many kids I had, and they said, "Do you not own the TV?" I was like, "Okay." I'm like, "Okay, I don't know how to answer that question, but okay."
I would say yes, and I get a lot of inspiration from it, as you can tell.
Yes, I do. Yeah, I own a TV. I just can't find the remote. But yeah, yeah. But when it comes to like weird interview questions, I don't think I get a lot of weird interview questions. I think I get a lot of questions that I think is weird.
I don't know. Those are pretty weird.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree too. I would have to say as well. And comments, I get a lot of weird comments as well. So,
A lot of weird
uh,
comments like what?
so I was doing a presentation, and then I was showing a picture of me and my family, and someone said, "What did I say?" I said, "Oh," I said, "Look at all those boys. We know where your mind was." Chick, 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 chick. And I was like,
What does that even mean?
"You got me, Carlos. I don't know. I don't know what that meant. I just go with it. I'm like, ha ha, ha ha ha, and I just go about myself. And I went through and I continued my presentation because I did not know what that meant. Uh, I still don't know what they meant. I haven't asked the person. I still work with the person, but I have not asked them what did they mean. What did they mean about the question? Mostly because
Mm,
I probably don't want to know what they meant by that question. So,
yeah,
or about the
yeah,
comment that they made. So,
yeah. That is weird
yeah,
comment.
I'm telling you.
So we're gonna play a little game. Would you rather? I'm gonna ask you five of these, and you're gonna have to
Answer as honest I
let us
can.
know what you would rather do.
Okay, I'll try to be honest.
Would you rather be the designated driver and stay sober for the night? Jeez, I can't talk or walk 10 miles home with your whole groups of friends. I guess drunk. They didn't say that part,
I think I
or
would.
maybe I'm just adding that part.
I think I would rather be the designated driver. I'm too fat, Carlos. I can't walk 10 miles.
Hey,
I'm not that person no more.
I'm dreading. I'm going to the gym after this, and I'm dreading. I'm working on getting better at cardio, and I'm looking
Mm,
like, yeah,
question.
this is gonna
Mm,
have to be a dry night for me
yeah,
because I'm gonna have to drive us all home.
exactly. The way
I
these
don't know who's
legs,
gonna walk you home.
exactly. The way these legs set up. Mm-mm. Unfortunately,
Mm-mm. Okay, so would you rather celebrate your birthday with your family or celebrate your birthday with your friends?
my family. I don't have any friends, Carlos. Well, I consider you a friend, but you way down in Florida, so I can't.
I'm in Texas
Oh,
now.
you in Texas now? That's
Yep,
still a long drive. I can't.
it's still a long drive.
A long drive.
um, would you rather be filthy rich but suffer from depression or be poor and happy?
Poor and happy. Heck, I'm poor and happy right now.
Would you rather be the one who orders the nuclear bombing of a city or be the one who execute the nuclear bombing of a city?
I'm gonna go ahead and execute it. I mean,
Mm.
you got to be about it. You're gonna talk about it. You got to be about it. It might not be the best decision. It might not be the best thing, but if you're gonna talk about it, you got to be about it. I mean, I got to do what my shirt says. Probably can't. Yeah, do what my shirt
Do
says.
better.
Do better. Yes, sir.
Ooh. Would you rather never be able to eat meat again or never be able to eat vegetables again?
Never be able to eat vegetables again. It's gonna be a meat milkshake somewhere in there.
Not a meat
Oh yes,
milkshake.
sir. Meat milkshake. Gonna made out of sirloin. Filet mignon.
I think that was five, but I'm going to ask one more just in
Okay.
case. Would you rather lose your mind or lose all your limbs?
Ooh, that's a deep one right there. Lose my mind.
You would rather lose your mind?
Nah, I can't lose all my limbs, dude. No,
Yeah,
I
because
can't.
I feel like that would make me lose my mind.
Oh yeah, for sure. But the problem is, you probably just be laying there. What can you do?
Yeah,
Nah, I
yeah.
wouldn't lose my mind. I can at least walk around.
Well, with the biotech that they're coming out with now,
It's very
you
true.
know,
It's very true. I remember like 2015, they were coming out with the bionic eye. So what it does, they have these electronic leads. So they put the
mhm.
eye in, run the electronic leads to the brain, and on the brain synapses there, they would plug them in, and then your brain actually was controlling your eye. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, it had small cameras on the inside of it and everything, and they would adjust based off your brain. I thought that was the craziest thing ever.
That is
I
crazy.
know. I was like, holy, like that is crazy.
So could they actually see out of the
Yeah,
eye?
I could actually see out the eye. Oh, I'm
Oh
telling you,
wow.
the things that we could do is crazy. I remember they were growing. They were actually growing human limbs in like petri dishes. They grew an ear with pig cells. They scraped the cell. Well, they were scraping. Yeah, they were scraping cells from pigs and scraping. Well, yeah, no, they were scraping cells from patients and use them to grow. Using those to grow body parts. They grew an ear one time out of
Mm.
that, right in a petri dish. And like skin grafts, they were taking pig skin and seeing if it was compatible with human skin. And that's why now, if you don't have any skin for like a skin graft, they use pig skin because it's the most relatable, most compatible with human skin. Check that out. Yeah,
Really?
check that.
I would think it would be like a primate or something if I had to
I
guess.
know. Nope, pig. Yeah,
Wow.
I know. It doesn't look the same color though. That's the only problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. That,
Getting that melanin in
oh,
that pig
oh
skin
yeah,
is gonna be
tough. It's gonna be real tough.
tough.
Real tough. You might have to put it in the oven for a few minutes.
You walk around there getting sweaty at the gym, man. Something smell like
Bacon,
bacon.
pork grinds. Sounds like pig skin over here. Y'all smell like sure good. I might have to talk to somebody about that. They make them come to work out with me a little bit more. I'll be hungry by the time I leave.
By the time you
I'm
leave,
about to go to IHOP once to
mm-mm.
get me a BLT when I
A
leave.
lumberjack special.
Nothing but bacon,
Extra
please.
bacon on the
Yeah,
side.
exactly. Extra bacon and sausage, please. I got the smell for it.
The smell
Yeah,
for it,
just
not the taste, but the
just
smell
just
for
smell. Just there it is, right there. Just the smell. That's all I need. Reminds me of when I was working out.
it.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, so is there anything that you want to leave the listeners with? Any type of tips or anything we didn't cover today that you want to
Um,
talk about?
the only tip, which one thing I have lived by for a long time, is Love what you do and be happy.
That's what's up.
Yep. Find,
Good
yep.
advice.
And if you don't love what you do, find what you love to do and make it work so you can be happy. So that's long tip.
That's what's up. Um, so what's next for you? Are there any goals or anything like that that you have, or
Yep.
any projects or anything like that you're working on?
Right now, my goal is I want to be a quality manager. So that's what I'm looking. I'm
Okay.
looking out for, looking forward to. I've already had conversations with certain people. Hopefully, uh, we're well. That's one goal, and then the next goal is to find where we want to be our forever home, right? What state we
Right.
want to be in, what town we want to be in, and then no more moving at all. We've moved so much to the point it's just I'm tired
Yeah.
of moving.
Yeah.
I am tired of moving. I say we moved from so I moved when I first got my job. That was 7 hours away to move up here to move to
Mm,
Mountain Home, and then from Mountain Home to St. Louis was 4 hours. And then, not to include, so my wife moved 3 hours to Mountain Home, and then we made the move to St. Louis, which is 4 hours. So, and then we moved, yeah,
gotcha.
and then just being at the different houses as well, doing those moves as well. So, man, it's been crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. That sounds like a lot.
yeah, it definitely has been. So yeah, those are right now the current goals, and then long term goal is, it's funny because when I saw that you had posted about you're looking for people to do podcasts with, that's actually what I'm working on. As
Okay.
I want to do a podcast. My my wife for Christmas kind of got me the GoPro and set up for that. So I'm actually working on trying to set all that up so I can do my podcast. So I want to do a podcast, and it's more like an open discussion to talk about life, if that makes sense.
Mm,
So like
yeah.
being single versus married, your wife does
Mm,
this, some people's wife does this, yeah, just open discussions about talking about certain life topics and stuff like that. So
yeah.
yeah,
I actually want to start another one like kind of like
yeah,
that, and I wanted to call it "Oh shit,"
oh
where I
yeah,
just sit around and have people on and talk shit,
oh for sure.
and
Hey,
you be like, "Oh
shit.
shit."
You can call me anytime.
So who knows? Maybe that'll be my
There
retirement
you go.
retirement
Oh,
goals.
there you go.
Just sit around and
For sure.
talk crap all day.
Heck, I do that anyway. I got something. That ain't retirement for me. I do that anyway. I try not to. I try to limit. I try to hold some of it back. It don't work out, but I try
Right,
to.
right.
Still working on it.
So that's what's up. Where can people reach you if they want to get in contact with you?
They can reach me at they can do my LinkedIn, which is just Ira Hampton.
Okay,
Or as well, they can look me on Facebook, which is my first name and my first and my last name, Ira Hampton. So,
gotcha,
yep,
gotcha. And I'll drop links to both of those in the description so they can just click on it from
for
there.
sure,
But that's it for me. Like I said, if you don't have anything else, I appreciate you, volunteering to come on the
for
show
sure,
because I'm just trying to get it started out.
yeah,
So I'm welcoming
for
everybody.
sure.
So
Hey, it was great.
appreciate. Yeah, yeah. So we might have to have you again when you get that management
Oh,
role.
for sure. Yeah. Hopefully I get it.
No, you got it.
oh,
We manifesting on
oh,
here.
for sure. I've been manifesting for a while. It's like I said, it's been a goal, so I'm gonna make it happen.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. No doubt. Well, Ira, I appreciate you being on the show,
yes, sir.
and I'll talk to you soon.
Appreciate it. Peace
All
out.
right.